Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum students. Hope you're fine and taking good care of yourself. I'm here once again with another English lesson, and this time we are going to talk about narrative writing. So let's see first of all, what is narrative writing? A narrative is a story containing specific elements that work together to create interest for not only the author but also the reader himself. This type of writing makes the reader feel as if he or she were part of the story, as if it was being told directly to him or her. Story writing is an art. It is the oldest form of written composition. It is a work of imagination that is written in easily understandable grammatical structure. A short story is meant to be read in a single sitting, and therefore it should be as direct and brief as possible. To write a good story, you need to have a clear plot in your mind. The events need to be arranged in a sequential manner. Then there should be some interesting twists and surprising elements in the story in order to make it interesting. Basically, developing and writing a good story needs the art of narration. You have to narrate the incidents in a sequential order leading to the final conclusion. You should follow the basic theme as expounded by the input or by the introductory lines. You are not supposed to invent new and different themes. Within the given limits, you are left with enough space where you can give expression to your creative talents. The beginning and the concluding lines must support the main part of the events described in the story. To be a successful writer, you must know the elements of writing a story. A short story has 5 key elements: characters, setting, plot, conflict, and theme. The very first element of writing a story is plot. The who, what, where, when, why, and how outline that gives the narrative direction. What is the story about? And events unfold as they happen, the frame of the narrative. The outlining process for writing a short story is very important to have a cohesive flow throughout the story. Here is what your outline should include for a short story. Number 1, the point of view you will use. Number 2, how you will start the story. Number 3, how you will get from the beginning to the main issue. Then what happens at the climax. And after that, you will mention the resolution of the main issue and the very end. Keep in mind that your short story can end very abruptly, or you can flesh it out until there is a satisfying ending. This is really up to you as an author to decide. Plot is most often about a conflict or struggle that the main character goes through. The conflict can be with another character, or with the way things are, or with something inside the character, like needs or feelings. The main character should win or lose at least partially on their own, and not just be rescued by someone or something else. Most often, the character learns or grows as they try to solve their problem. What the character learns is the theme. The conflict should get more and more tense or exciting. The tension should reach a high point or climax near the end of the story, then ease off. The basic steps of a plot are: conflict begins, then things go right or wrong, then final victory and wrap up. The right and wrong steps can repeat. A novel can have several conflicts, but a short story should have only one conflict. If we talk about the structure of the plot, it has a proper beginning, middle, climax, and ending. First of all, if we see the beginning, it is enticing opening to capture readers' interest. In this part, the setting is revealed, main characters are introduced, and conflict is presented. Writing a short story and its opening lines isn't easy. You will want to strike the right tone, introduce the characters, and capture the reader's attention all at once. And you need to do it quickly because you don't have much space. One highly effective method for starting a short story is to write an opening hook, a sentence that immediately intrigues the reader. Such openings prompt the reader to continue with interest, looking for answers. The next step in structuring the plot of the short story is to write the middle of the story. In this part of the story, characters attempt to resolve conflicts or problems. Action progresses sequentially step by step. And the next step is climax, the turning point of the narrative. It reveals the process involved for solving the conflicts. Then comes the ending of the story. It tells how the resolution of the conflicts have affected the characters. No new characters or plot ideas should be introduced in this part of the story. And in this part, the theme or message should be understood by the reader. Nothing is more disappointing to a reader than a beautifully written narrative with a weak ending. When you get to the end of your story, it may be tempting to dash off a quick one just to be done, but don't give in to temptation. If you have no idea how to end your short story, then ask yourself, how would a reader want this story to be ended? The answer to this question involves a combination of what would realistically happen to the characters and what is most impactful. The second element of narrative writing is characters. The people, animals, or inanimate objects who are affected by the actions of the plot or who are the cause of certain events, they are the characters in the story. Characters, real or imaginative, should be brought to life through the narrative. If a character is not described well, the story will not be believable. Before you start writing, know your characters well. Your main character should be someone readers can feel something in common with, or at least care about. You don't have to describe a character completely. It's enough to say one or two things about how a character looks or moves or speaks. Our main character should have at least one flaw or weakness. Perfect characters are not very interesting. They are also harder to feel something in common with or care about. And they don't have anything to learn. In the same way, there should be at least one thing good about a bad guy. The next element in writing a narrative is setting, where and when the narrative takes place. Allow the readers to visualize the scenes and the characters in those scenes. Although the setting may be clear for the author, he or she must create a picture for the readers. Set your story in a place and time that will be interesting or familiar for your reader. Time frame and place constitute setting of story writing. The setting is often decorated with descriptions of scenes such as supermarket, bedroom, crowded metro train, or drizzling evening. The list is endless. These descriptions are very important to make reader immerse in the plot. Unit of time frame may vary from hours to days to weeks to years. The golden rule in selecting time frame for story writing is keep it shorter and have it single. Story writing that has setting of few hours may typically be clearer and more effective than with setting of few months or years. The next element of story writing is style. The use of figurative language, sensory imagery, vivid verbs, strong sentences, dialogue, and point of view that makes each author unique. Every student has his or her own style and technique. Although we have the same topic, everyone will write differently. Use language that feels right for your story. Wherever you can, use actions and speech to let your readers know what's happening. Show, don't tell. Give speech in direct quotes like go away, instead of indirect quotes like she's told him to go away. You don't have to write fancy to write well. It almost never hurts to use simple words and simple sentences. That way, your writing is easy to read and understand. Always use the best possible word, the one that is closest to your meaning, sounds best, and creates the clearest image. If you can't think of the right one, use a thesaurus or dictionary. Carefully check each word, phrase, sentence, and paragraph. Is it the best you can write? Is it in the right place? Do you need it at all? If not, take it out. The strongest stories have well-developed themes, engaging plots, suitable structure, memorable characters, well-chosen settings, and attractive style. For best results, build strength in all these areas. The next element in story writing is conflict. The problems that must be overcome are resolved so that the readers will not be left hanging. The types of conflicts can be person versus self, person versus person, person versus society, and person versus machine or technology, and the last one, person versus nature. Conflict is the struggle between two sides of the theme of the story. Conflict can be between characters, emotions, beliefs, or thoughts. It gives life to short stories. Stories are not just sequences of events, they have to go somewhere. Any good story begins with the character and the conflict it has. The story describes the character's conflict and its resolution. So keep your character's struggle to get something he desperately wants in mind as you build your story's framework or outline. The next element of story writing is theme. A theme is a message revealed in the story. It may be directly stated, like in a fable where the moral is told at the conclusion. It may be indirect, leaving the reader to decide the story's message. There can be more than one theme for a narrative. Short stories are known for being impactful even though they are not novel length. And that means they have to have a core theme or message you want to get your reader across. This can be anything from loving yourself to ignoring societal expectations. In order to do this, think about what you want your readers to take away from your story. So you need to focus on what is the desired outcome of your story. If you just want people to enjoy the story, that's fine. However, what makes a story impactful and enjoyable is what readers take away from it. So you better brainstorm some themes that are important to you and work your short story around them. This will not only make you care more about your story, but it will also make it more satisfying for your readers. Stories can be written with different point of views. If you're writing a personal account, the best idea is to use the first person point of view. So use I as the narrator. Here is an example. I will never forget the day that my hamster died. Using the five senses when writing a narrative helps the reader picture and feel what's going on. Describe what you see, hear, taste, touch, and smell to make your reader become involved in the story. Use figurative language to make your story more interesting for your readers. Figurative language is the use of descriptive words that bring your readers into the story. Descriptive writing involves writing that vividly portrays a person, place, or thing in such a way that the reader can experience the writer's experience. Sensory language, vivid detail, figurative language, showing, not telling, active verbs. These are the things that make your writing interesting. Replace general verbs with vivid verbs. Make writing more interesting and enjoyable for the reader. Vivid verbs have more specific meanings than general verbs. Here is a list of vivid verbs that may help you in writing your stories. Here is an example of using vivid verbs and descriptive adjectives. The example is, the nice woman walked into the restaurant. The same thing is written in another way. The vivacious woman sauntered into the restaurant. You can see the difference, how the simple statement is changed by using the vivid verbs and descriptive adjectives. And this is the difference between telling and showing. Here is another example. The man was distracted. Whereas we can say the same thing in a different way. The man stumbled on the bottom stair as he frantically read the text message he just received. Another thing that makes your writing more organized and easy to understand is the use of transition sentence or transition words. A transition sentence is the first sentence in a body paragraph. Its job is to support the thesis. The transition sentence consists of three parts. A transition word or phrase. It should refer to the thesis. It should name the topic of the paragraph. Here are few examples of transition words or phrases that can be used for illustration, similarity, exception, or restatement. I hope these transition phrases will be helpful to you in writing your story. And here is your writing task. You have to write a story about a time when you experienced something truly frightening. So good luck for your task. See you in the next lesson. Till then, Allah Hafiz. Goodbye. Thank you.